Hello everybody and welcome to another video in this Linux for Programmers tutorial series. Now in this video we're going to be talking about file permissions and the chmod command. But before we dive in, I need to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Linode. Linode is one of the best companies to use for your server hosting and development needs. If your app runs on Linux, then it runs on Linode. One of my favorite things about Linode is that they have a 24/7, 365-day-a-year support line where you can talk with real human beings. Their support is proactive, not just reactive, and it feels great to know that you have a team of experts you can consult if something goes wrong. Get started with Linode today by hitting the link in the description and claiming a free $100 credit. So one last reminder as well to make sure that you are signed up to get access to the last 5 videos in this tutorial series. There'll be a link in the description to this page right here. All of these videos, as I've said many times now, will be live on YouTube, but if you want access to them as soon as they are done, really early access, then make sure you register at this page. Again, link in the description. Last thing, there is a guide that you can follow along with for this tutorial series. This comes from Linode. This covers pretty much everything that I'm going to talk about in this video, and it's a great resource if you want kind of a cheat sheet for some of the things that I'm saying. So anyways, with that said, let's get into the video and talk about file permissions and chmod. So in the last video, we talked about users and we talked about groups and the fact that all users have a primary group and a secondary group. Now remember that most users' primary group is simply going to be a unique group that only they belong to, which is the same name as their username. I discussed why in the previous video, so I won't get into it again, but just understand the difference between users and groups and primary and secondary groups, because that's important for this tutorial. So now what I want to show you is how we can actually look at the file permissions or the mode of specific files on the Linux file system. Now this is very important because oftentimes you want to execute a file or you need to read a file or write to a file and you don't have the permissions to do so. If that's the case, you usually need to manually modify this file's mode or change the file permission, and you do that using the chmod command, which stands for change mode, which I'll show you shortly. The first thing I want to show you though is what happens when I type ls-l. Now ls-l is actually going to display our files in this long view. Now I don't think that's like exactly what this means. You don't need to know the exact acronym or what L stands for. But regardless, this is going to show us a detailed information of all of the files in our current directory, all of the directories, files, items in this current directory. So I just want to go through here and talk to you about what all of this means, because this is a really good way to check who a file is owned by and kind of what permissions each user is going to have for a specific file. So let's just go through this first line here and talk about what all this means. So this first set of characters that looks kind of cryptic here is the file permissions or the file mode. I'll get back to that in a second. The next one is the number of files contained within this file or within this directory. So inside of A, this is saying we have 2 items. So those items could be other directories, they could be files, but there's 2 things inside of A. Then this first word here is the user who owns the file or created the file. The next word is the group that this file belongs to. This is usually going to be the same as the username. Then we have the size of this file or this directory, again, interchangeable, and then the time and date that this was created at, and finally the name. So let's go back to this first set of characters here and talk about what this means. So again, this is the file permission. The first character stands for what type of file this is. So this says the fact that it's a D means this is a directory. If we see a hyphen or a dash, that means this is a regular file. And if we see L, I don't know, I forget the exact word that stands for, but I think that stands for something like link. Now, you're probably not going to see L at all, but just wanted to mention that in case you do. So D, directory, hyphen file, that's the first character of this like cryptic set of characters here. Now, the last 9 characters here actually represent the permissions for this file and for specific users. So you have to read this as kind of 3 sets of 3 characters. So you have RWX, R-X, and R-X. You can imagine that they're separated by commas because they all stand for and represent different things. So first of all, R, W, and X, what do those stand for? Well, that's read, write, and execute. So you're always going to see 3 characters, and you're either going to see all of these or just some combination of them or none. Now, in this case, we see RWX, which means the user can read, write, and execute. But in this case, we just see R-X, which means whatever this represents, you can read, you cannot write, and you can execute, and same thing for this one. Now, if we look down here and we see R hyphen hyphen, that means you can read, you cannot write, and you cannot execute because there's no R, there's no X, it's replaced with that hyphen. So these three sets of characters here, this stands for the permissions for the user, the permissions for the group, and the permission for all users on the system. So RWX is for the user, which is this first word right here. R-X is for the group, so all members that belong to this group here. And then R-X is for all users on the system, regardless if they are the user or the group of this file. Hopefully that's clear, but in this specific example, the user can read, write, and execute. The group can read, not write, and execute, and all other users can read, not write, and execute. So that is what that means. If we look down here at, say, this one, I'll just go through this. This means the user can read, write, execute. This means the group can read, not write, not execute. And this means that all other users can read, not write, and not execute. So we'll continue in 1 second, but I just need to thank the other sponsor of this video, which is AlgoExpert. AlgoExpert is the best platform to use when preparing for your software engineering coding interviews. They have over 115 coding interview practice questions with detailed solutions, code walkthroughs, video explanations, extensive test suites, and literally everything you need to ace your coding interviews. Get started on AlgoExpert today by clicking the link in the description and using the code TechWithTim for a discount on the platform. So now what I'm going to show you is how we can actually change the permissions of these files or these directories. Because oftentimes what you want to do is you want to execute a file, or you need to be able to write to a file or read from a file, and you don't have the adequate permission to do so. So as the root user, or as the user who owns the file, you can modify the permissions on that file. So to do that, you use a command called chmod. Now chmod stands for change mode, and you're changing the file mode. I like to just call it permission because to me that makes more sense, but I think they call this, string of characters here like the file mode. Anyways, when you use the chmod command, the syntax is as follows. I will give some examples, but I just want to give you the robust syntax. It is who, and then one of the following commands here, or one of the following symbols, so plus, minus, or equal sign. This is how you can either add a command, remove a command, or you can add a permission, remove a permission, or set the permission to something. Then you type the permission or permissions that you want, and then finally the file name or directory name that you want to set these on. So that is the chmod command. Now, if you are using the chmod command on a directory, then what you are trying to do likely is to modify the contents of that directory. So say you want everything inside of that directory to have, write access for the user or have executable access for the group or whatever. Then what you need to add is this little flag, which is -r. This stands for recursive. And what this means is recursively set the permission for all files inside of the directory. Again, I'll show you an example of that, but let's just do some examples of chmod first. That's kind of the basic syntax. So chmod, and then you're going to type one of the 4 following things. So U, G, O, or A. Now, what these are is user, group, others, and all. So you're specifying whether you want to change the permission for the user, for the group, for all other users on the system, or for all users on the system. Now, O and A are kind of confusing because you say other users and then you say all users. So all users stands for literally all users. Others stands for all other users that are not a part of that are not that user who owns the file, or who are not a part of the group that belongs to that file. So hopefully that makes sense, but this is different because all is for literally everyone, including the group and including the user, and others is for everyone but the user and the group. So anyways, I don't know why they have to make it so confusing, but that is what it is. So let's just do an example of changing the permissions of, say, abc.txt so that all users can write to this file. So if we want to do this, we can say chmod a plus and then w and then the name of the file, which is abc.txt. If I do that, and then I say ls-l, we have a look at abc.txt. Notice that w was added. And when we add it to all, it automatically adds to the user and to the group, right? Because if it's for all, then it's automatically for those as well. So hopefully that's clear, but anything that's inside of all is also going to apply to the group and to the user by default. Okay, sweet. So now let's see how we can modify just the user. Let's say we want to allow the user to execute abc.txt, but no one else. Then what we'll say is chmod, and then u plus, and then x. Again, x stands for execute, abc.txt. Now if we do ls-l, Notice this highlights in green because it's executable, and we now get the X added to the user. So there we go. All right, now I will show you how to do the recursive thing for the directory. So let's say we want to add a write ability for all users in the A directory. To do this, we need to say chmod A plus and then W, and then we'll just do the directory, which is A, but we have to remember to add this flag, which is -R, because we are going to recursively do this for all files or all of the contents of the A directory. So when we do that, we should see this is all good now. We can say ls-l, and we see that we now have all permissions for all users for the A directory. Now, the last thing I'll show you is how to remove permissions and to set the permission. So if we want to remove the permission, let's say we actually didn't want to allow all users to write in the A directory, then we would say A-W. That would then remove the W permission from this file. We go ahead and press enter and go ls-l. We see that now W is gone from all of them. All right, so that is how we remove. Now, if we want to set the permissions, we can do something like A equals, and then what we need to type out is the permissions that we want to set. So we can say something like just W, and what this will do is set that you can only write in the A directory. So you won't be able to read and you won't be able to execute, you just write. So let's run this. And let's go ls-l, and now we see that it removed everything else and just set it to W, because that's all we typed when we set it, right? So setting is overriding everything else clearly. So if I say chmod, and let's not do the directory anymore because maybe that's confusing. We can do abcde.txt, and we'll say equals, and then we set it to WR. This means that, well, is WR already there? No, that's fine. We'll just say A equals WR. Now this will set for all users that they can read and write on abcde.txt. So if we do that, ls-l, now we see we get RW for abcde.txt. All right, so I've just cleared the screen. I'm going to show you 2 or 3 last things. First, let's have a look at this again, just so we can see what all of the permissions are. The first thing I'll show you is what happens when you don't specify who you want to do the command for, or who you want to change the permissions for. So if I do something like chmod plus X and then, abcde.txt, and I don't specify U, I don't specify G, I don't specify O, or I don't specify A, again, standing for user, group, others, and all, this is by default going to modify the permission for all. So you're going to see this when I do chmod plus X. Now we do ls-l. If we have a look at abc.txt, notice it added X for all of the users. All right, so let's remove that. So chmod minus X. Now let's have a look here, ls-l. Notice X was removed from all of them. So that's important to understand. Next thing that I'm going to show you is how we can set multiple permissions at the same time. So I can say chmod, and then I can do something like group plus W. I can do something like O, meaning others, minus RW, and then I can do maybe all, and then plus X, and then for whatever file I want, so maybe abcde.txt. This will work fine. You can separate things by commas to alter multiple permissions at the same time. So let's do that. Now we go ls-l, and we can see that that was applied. So that is the basics of the chmod command and file permissions. There's not much more to go through here. Just wanted to show you how you actually read this kind of cryptic stuff right here and how you can modify the permissions on files. This will come in handy later, especially when you say download a file and then you need to execute it on the machine. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. If it was, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in another Linux for Programmers tutorial video.